Welcome to the course Basics Digital Storytelling. So here we are, and yeah, let's work in 3D immediately. So I just double click here on perspective, and here I am. Actually, with the right click of your mouse, you can move, can rotate around, and with what is it? Yeah, with a control and right click, you can zoom in and out. With shift, you can pan, and with alt, you can. It's the same. Okay. So yeah, there are kind of different things that you can do, kind of to quickly navigate around. And yeah, with just the mouse, you can also, or with a wheel, you can kind of zoom in and out. Okay. Basically, everything that you did before in 2D, you can do in 3D as well. But basically, you're drawing in this construction plane. So this grid that you see, this is a construction plane, and you can change basically this construction plane around. But I'll just, yeah, so basically when you're drawing here, for example, do a rectangle, and I press 0, so it's origin, and I just, basically when I'm drawing in that plane. But again, I can change this construction plane and then draw on different surfaces. But for now, we'll kind of try to keep it even simpler. I want to show you kind of quickly how you can do sort of a curvy, like how you can quickly create surfaces. And then we'll go on to with sort of solids, and we'll work with solids. So I can just draw a rectangle. So 0, and actually, let me just turn off this. I'll turn off the grid here. Okay, so I can draw a rectangle, and now I can sort of rotate around, and I can quickly create a surface out of it. Or so I can, or I can kind of here say, do copy paste or edit, copy, edit, paste, and now I can say rotate. I can say rotate 3D. I define a rotation axis from here to here, and then the angle is from here to, for example, 90 degrees, actually minus 90 degrees. Okay, so I kind of just did a drawing, but it's sort of in 3D. So these are just two rectangles that are in 3D. Not really useful, but depending on what you want to draw, I'm just kind of copying it around. So I can basically work with sort of lines and curves just completely in 3D as well. So I can kind of start arranging them. Like your lines can just exist in 3D as well. Okay, then I can actually just copy paste this and use my nudge to kind of move these things around. Okay, now I can start creating surfaces. Or so there's an option here, a surface from, if I click here a small triangle, I get kind of different ways to create a surface. So for example, this one is surface from planar curves. So I can select the planar curve here, spacebar, and now the surface is created. And to see the surfaces, you have to go here under this small arrow, and then you can change the view, for example, to shaded or even to rendered, which we'll use a little bit later. So go to shaded. Now you can kind of see the shading of the surface. And yeah, we can continue on. Also, I can use the surface from planar curves. I can basically, each of these planar curves that I have, I can turn it into a surface. Okay, so that's a little bit, again, a bit manual, but that's basically how I can start building up things. If I change the here to rendered view, I already kind of see a little bit how they look like. And the added bonus here is because I had the curve around. Yeah, because I had the curve around, I also see there's kind of a line here. Or so otherwise, I copy paste this and I just move them. I get the same volume, but I don't see this. There's no outline. Or so this is when you're in this rendered view. Also, there's a difference between surfaces and curves. In this case, the curve is kind of around the surface, so you get a bit of a different. It looks a little bit different. Actually, I'm save here again this document as basics of 3D modeling. Okay, then if I go back to shaded, usually we would use the shaded view because it is faster. I can actually draw objects directly, or I can draw these solids. Oh no, actually, sorry, before we do that, I want to show you a little bit how you can create sort of a curved surfaces. So for example, I can go here under surface. I can select a rectangular plane from corner to corner. So I can just kind of draw this. I can draw this object actually, just this like last. So I just kind of created this surface here, or copy. I just want to somehow work in a modular way. So I'm a little bit obsessed with this. Should have started maybe a bit better, but this is fine. Okay, so I just leave these ones. Okay, now this surface is just double the whatever this is. Okay, now I'm just copy pasting this surface around. So this surface is just flat, but I can start modifying it, or so I can start. So first I can rebuild the surface. Actually, let me just see something. Okay, so this surface actually has very few control points. If I put in F10, I get these sort of a corner points, or so I can actually move these corner points. So these are basically control points of a surface, and I can use this to kind of directly start modifying the surface, or I can kind of, this is actually now a ruled surface. But I can also change the number of these control points that I have, or so if I move this one here, I can, for example, say there's a function called rebuild, and then I can say, well, I want to have not 10 by 10, but maybe 4 by 4, and degree should be, right now it should be degree 1. Preview. Okay, and now if I press F10, I turn on the, I think you can also put points on, put this on or something like points on, but F10 is a shortcut. Now I can again move these control points, but because I selected this, I said degree 1, then these will be rule surfaces, or so yeah, it's just a rule surface. If you go here under rendered, it already gets kind of a little bit of feel. So meaning they're approximated with straight lines, because it's a degree 1 surface. But I can also work with sort of curved surfaces. So I can deform it in a different way by basically again selecting it, like rebuild, and then I said again 4 by 4, and then degree is free. Preview for okay. What did I had before? F10. Okay, now here they are. Okay, so now I can do kind of something a little bit similar, but now the surface behaves differently. Also, this interpolation is completely different. Specifically, it is it's degree free, so I get this sort of a kind of a wobbly. I get kind of just a curved surface. The interpolation is just curved. Okay, and then there are many different ways to create these curves. So maybe here I want to just draw something. Just want to draw something quickly. I just realized that my time is running up, so I have to be kind of really quick. So for example, I want to draw just a curve here. Use this as a reference. Here I have a kind of a midpoint. This one here, okay. And from here, so I can use basically other geometry to sort of guide my work, or guide my sort of curves, or I can kind of also move directly the construction place. This takes very long. Let's do it a bit better here. I just copied this geometry. Okay, so let's say I want to create a surface between these two curves, and I can do that by actually copy paste this multiple times, because I might want to do multiple versions. So I can use a function called loft. So I can go here. It's just called loft. It's also here. One of these is loft. This one here, loft. So I can say I want to go from this curve to this curve, space bar, and I basically get kind of a interpolation between these two. There are different ways that I can sort of there are different ways that I can do this interpolation. Let's say normal, okay, and I just get just the surface between these two. Let me actually try to move this. Yeah, it's actually going to be the same. Just let me think. That's one way to do it. Let's say I want to take this away. Let's say I want to create, you can do a sweep, or so for example, I can just draw a curve here on the floor. Maybe it looks like this. Okay, copy, so I go here. So I can say I want to sweep this curve along this curve here. Or so I have two curves and I want to create sort of a surface that is sort of like a sweep. So here there's an option called sweep somewhere. Sweep one rail. So select rail, it's this one here, and select, oops, actually, select rail. Okay, select sweep curves, this one here, enter. And then I have to just check a little bit how okay, it's a bit of a, yeah, it's a bit, just check something, direction. Okay, so it works better if the rail is, if the origin of the point, so direction, it's a bit hard to see here, but basically the origins of the curves or the starts of the curves should start the same place, then I get a bit better result. Otherwise I have to kind of flip everything. So again, let's try this sweep again. Sweep one rail, rail is here, profile curve is here. And yeah, okay, so it's basically kind of goes sort of around. And if I go to rendered mode, I get kind of this view here. But you can kind of do it, of course, however you want. So just select this curve one more time. Go here, and that's kind of from the top. So you can start drawing in 3D here, but you can kind of continue drawing in 2D. So I'm just going to draw a little bit a squiggly curve. Again, sweep one rail, this one here, hop, and yeah, you can kind of get sort of a different freeform road like. Okay, so there are different ways that you can sort of sweep this curve around. That's how you can create very easily sort of a lofted shape, so curved shapes in Rhino. It's also why the software is so popular, because it gives you this freedom. Just to, I want to be kind of a little bit fast, so let's work a little bit with solids. So I can start with just drawing like a cube, like a solid cube. So there's an option here, it's called a box. Right click there, then different objects that you can create. Like for example, we create just a box. And yeah, you create a box exactly as you would imagine, something like this. It's not actually a box. Well, it's a box, but it doesn't. It's not a cube necessarily. Okay, and I think maybe last time I was showing you, you can kind of now copy paste it, move it around, rotate it, and you can start creating these so-called Boolean operations. Or so I can start sort of, I can kind of add and subtract shapes from each other. So let's try to do that. So maybe these two cubes, copy paste them. I think I maybe showed this already last time or somewhere, and do one more time. So I have two cubes, they actually intersect each other, but I want to create just one geometry out of it. So I can, for example, do Boolean union. So select them, Boolean union. Sorry, my Rhino just crashed a bit. Okay, again. Boolean union. It will just sort of merge these two together. So now they are together. It's like one volume. I cannot separate it anymore. But I can do something different, or I can also, for example, do Boolean difference also. Boolean, actually, let's copy it one more time, because there's a difference and then there's also intersection also. Here I can do actually intersection. So Boolean intersection, I select hop, and actually again hop one, spacebar the other one. My internet connection might actually die soon. Okay, I hope I'm back. There's some issues with my internet. Second sec. Okay, so I basically created an intersection between these two elements. So the volumes that are shared between these two cubes, now it's extracted here as a separate object. If I want, for example, the edges of this object, I can say something like I think it's dup edges to duplicate. Okay, I think it's maybe like wireframe, extract wireframe. Let's see. Okay, so select last. Okay, so the cool thing with modeling is that I can extract the different things that I need. Also here, for example, I extracted the wireframe of this object. These are now just lines, and these are these are just lines that go sort of along the edges here. And let's do the last one here, Boolean difference. So here is subtract from up. Here we go up. So it's kind of sort of cutting it away. Or so I can get edges of these or sort of different surfaces. And yeah, let me actually see quickly. Okay, so this is kind of what you can do. Now let's say I would like to sort of quickly finish up. I would maybe want to get actually see how this one looks like. Yeah, let's say I want to create some object. Maybe this is actually exactly this one here, and or actually let's say I want to create a collection of these objects and I just want to get them out. I want to create a 2D drawing of them. So let's say I take these cubes here, copy paste, actually just move them here. Somehow everything's so large, so it takes so long. Okay, so yes, okay, so I have these objects here. I can choose a view. Maybe I can also go here under view, and I can choose one of the axonometric views here. So this maybe not so nice. But this one is an option, but maybe even better, not this one, maybe the last one. Okay, so well, actually, it's a kind of a tough choice between these two. Okay, but let's say it's this one here. So now I'm just looking at it in projection, and I can just create. I can do two things. Also, I can make now this into a 2D drawing. So I can select these two, and I can just say make 2D. And make 2D is a very useful command. It will basically flatten or create a projection of your geometry. So if I say make 2D, should be okay. And it will now place it on the top. It will now just place in the top layer. So this is how they look like. And I even have sort of a hidden lines. So I have hidden lines and sort of visible lines. And this is now just a 2D drawing. It's grouped, I think, but it is a 2D drawing. So this can just be imported in Illustrator or wherever you want. Let's actually try to do a few more of these. So maybe here I change this one. I'll just take a few different views. Maybe this one, I just select it. Again, make 2D. Here the scale doesn't really matter because the drawing will have always the same scale. Now this is the same thing, but from a different perspective. Let's go back here. Third one, this is the third view. Make 2D up. and I just kind of move them so they're somewhere where I can access them here. And then let's do the last one. So there's just one more view here, make 2D, hop. Okay, go to top. Okay, so now basically what I created like, I created 4 different views of the same, 4 different views of 3 objects. And I'm just kind of, again, you then choose sort of how to lay them out, but maybe I'll just try to make it a bit kind of fancy like this. Okay, this is now just, again, this here is a 2D drawing, or so there's you can just use it, you can just use it the same way that you would use a normal 2D drawing. So these are like individual lines. You just have to, again, I think these are groups, so I have to say ungroup. And when you do that, yeah, they kind of break up. Okay. And I realized 4 minutes more. Okay, so what else? Let's actually export this, just save it. You can actually just export this part of the drawing. So I can just select it. You can say file. You can, of course, just directly print it from here. Or so the same way that we did before, you would go here under plus, new layout, A3 is fine, maybe a landscape in this case. Okay, you would click here, yes, and click out, and now you sort of have a drawing here, file, print. One important thing with printing that some of you did wrong during the midterm is, I think you clicked here raster output, so it should be vector output for sure, and then print color, display color, black and white, just whatever works, like it's basically black and white. You may say print, modeling, basics free modeling, let's say cube, Boolean operations. Okay, so that's some kind of PDF now. Should come out soon here, cube Boolean operations. I'm not sure how these, well, these dash lines, we'll have to check exactly how they look like, but here they look like this, I think. Okay. But basically, this is now just a vector drawing, and the same way, let's not actually go into Illustrator, or actually, let's not go into Illustrator. I want to just show you just one other quick trick. So we'll just take one of these and then go into Illustrator. But basically, these are these are just like flat drawings of your objects. So this is kind of a quick way to create diagrams. Let's go back in and let's focus more on this. Let's find a let's find actually a good view. Actually, let's find a good perspective view. Why not? Here, set view perspective. Let's choose maybe maybe why not this one here. Let's go here to rendered. Okay, so let's say you want to kind of catch, let's say you want to catch these 2 objects like this, and you want to create a diagram out of it. So actually copy paste it and move it a little bit further so it's not in the way of anything. Yes. Okay. So, and it's fine if it's perspective. Let's say from here, you do 2 things. So you can go here. You can actually, so there's a command called view capture to file. You capture the file, it basically takes a screenshot of your object, but let's actually try to zoom it. So it's yes. Again, view capture to file. Okay, let's zoom out. You capture the file. You can set the sizes here. I always like to work with kind of a square format, so on. So it's set it up like that. So you capture the file. This. Okay, this is kind of this may be fine. Just move it a little bit. Capture. Okay, so we are just going to save this as a. We're just going to save this as sort of a screenshot. we captured the file. This is not really rendered, but it's sort of quite close. Like if you make small diagrams, usually this is perfectly enough. So tutorials, modeling, and here we'll call it again. Let's call it cube Boolean union. Okay, and this is now going to be an image in our folder. This is how it looks like. Or it's a kind of a rough render, but it's already maybe good enough. And let's see how we can do a little bit more with it. So you can select it, and you can again do where is that? Make 2D, and then you say this is the view that I want to have. Okay. Now it will move it somewhere here on the top. We have to find it. Here it is. Okay, this is now the same view, but in sort of as 2D lines, and this we will export. So you select export selected, and we will then put it into DXF, and we will call it what is the name? Cube Boolean union. Okay, Cube Boolean union. Test. Okay. Let's give it another shot. In Illustrator, we have layers, so we have the hidden layers and the other layers. Let's actually open a new file, a free landscape create, and let's just import them one by one. So select these ones, edit, copy, go here, edit, paste in place. Okay, and these ones are called hidden, and create a new layer here, new layer, normal. We have that one selected, and here we just select the other lines, edit, copy here, edit, paste in place. Okay, so now we have them sort of separately here. Good thing is that we can just adjust them separately. Yeah, this I don't really trust these dash lines, to be honest, but okay, it should be fine. Object transform scale, maybe 80%, so just make it a bit nicer on the paper. Let's put a few other things like 0.5. It's fine, and maybe even we can select these normal lines and say, well, we are maybe 1, so they are a little bit thicker. Okay, so we have hidden lines that are thinner, and the other ones that are thicker here, and this one, no. Okay, and now we want to overlay a rendering to create sort of this sort of quick diagram. We create another layer here, which we call it picture, and this one goes maybe at the very bottom, and these two we will lock, and now we'll drag and drop this picture, or so this drawing that we exported and this picture, they should be exactly aligned. So if I put it here, now it's here, and probably it's actually the scale. This was, so this scale, the fact that this scale is exactly the same is this is a coincidence. So it should not have been like that, but it's somehow ended up being exactly the correct scale. So the picture is now, the layer is underneath. So we can just move this layer in an approximate position, and if you need to scale it separately, we can scale it as well. But basically, it's funny how it kind of aligned perfectly, even though, okay. But if you need to align it separately, then you would basically you would just need to scale the image a little bit, shift it around, and so on. And we can now just also lock the picture. Okay, so the picture is maybe fixed, and we don't want to move it. And these ones are here. And yeah, let's actually save this curve, cube Boolean union. See this and save this as a PDF. Save as PDF, curve Boolean union. Save PDF. Okay, and now we have a curve Boolean union here. That's a PDF. And like if you notice, the image went a little bit over, but this doesn't matter because somehow when you printed it, it just kind of cut it off. So now we have sort of you can actually select the image here in PDF, but we have basically lines and the images in the background. The advantage of doing it like this is because now your lines are vector graphics. So it means they have this, you can kind of zoom in as much as you want. So they're kind of very, very precise. Yeah, the lines are sort of very precise. They can be thin. You can kind of really get sort of crispy lines, even if you scale the drawing up and down. And the image in the background is just, it's a raster graphic source. So in this case, it's actually quite large on this paper, but you can imagine if this diagram is very small, you would export this image usually in a much larger resolution. But you can imagine that if this diagram is like very small on your paper, then it doesn't matter. You can have this 1000 by 1000, and then these pixels. I mean, you would never be able to see the pixels on if this diagram is like 2 by 2 centimeters, let's say, on the paper or even on the screen. Okay, so this is basically essentially how you can combine vector and raster graphics to sort of, let's say, pimp up your diagrams. You see, I didn't really do any rendering. So also here, here just up, it's the same thing. Here I just kind of, actually this is the, yeah, I kind of just, you just took this view capture by file, so just a kind of a very approximate render.